Hello and welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about Nova and if she's still OP or not. Well, the short answer to that is yes, and okay, the long answer to that is yes as well. But I'm going to explain here a little bit about that long answer. So Nova has basically always been a top performing frame within Warframe. She's always been solid, if not amazing, in the in-game activities that we have, especially now for like Circuit, EDA, ETA, things like that. She's always a welcome frame, at least for me to personally see whenever I'm playing those game modes. And when we have those special Warframe events that people like to speed run those events to get as many rewards as possible, Nova's usually somewhere on those squads to do the event as fast as they can. So with that, I'm going to go over two in-game builds. One of them is a Nuke build, and then I'm also going to be going over a newer player setup as well for newer players wanting to look into Nova and want to know how to build her and test her out and stuff. So let's get into that really quick. I'm going to go over the Archon shards. Of course, these are all always to taste. You don't have to have my exact Archon shard loadout if you don't want to, but I'm rocking 3 Tau Forge durations, a casting speed, and then a Violet Archon shard here for the equilibrium effect. This ties in with her passive, but I'm going to get to her passive here last after I talk about her 4, because her 4 and her passive kind of go hand in hand. So I'm just going to jump to her first ability here, which is Null Star. She gains a bunch of antimatter particles that just kind of circle her when the ability is active. Depending on the number of the particles, you can have up to a cap of 90% damage reduction, and then based on your ability range, these particles will then go and seek out targets and then deal damage. Pretty good ability. And then her second ability is Antimatter Drop. This is her nuke. This is the ability that you use if you want to nuke something into oblivion. So what this does is you're going to, when you cast the ability, it's going to basically just summon an orb, and then you shoot the orb with whatever weapon you have. Shotguns have worked pretty well for me for charging it, but so long as you have a gun that shoots fairly quickly, it'll charge it fairly fast. You'll know it's charged because the orb will begin to fill up and then it'll glow really bright once it's full. When it is full, then you just cast the ability again to go ahead and launch it at the whatever family lineage you want to see wiped off the face of the earth. Her third ability is Wormhole, and then this is her movement ability. This will just teleport you to whatever is directly in front of you based off her duration. If you have like a lot of, or based off her duration, based off her range, excuse me. If you have a lot of range and you're on like a pretty small tile set, you can run into the problem of just running into every wall known to man, so it can get a little annoying with that, so mind your range a little bit. Um, if if you do run the max range and then you like going into the open world environments like in Cetus and in Fortuna and whatnot, having max range and just kind of spamming this to just kind of warp all over creation is a lot of fun. And then her 4 here, is Molecular Prime. So this on a tap is going to slow enemies down, so and then also provide a damage vulnerability to them. And then the hold version is going to speed enemies up so they come to you faster. So if you're trying to speed up a farm or speed up a mission or whatnot, like what I mentioned earlier with like the squads and getting things done faster, that's what you want to do. You want to go ahead and then use the hold version to speed things up. If you're in a squad and you're trying to speed things up and then things get maybe a little too hairy, you can always just tap the ability again to just cast it, and then that will then change it, and then they'd be slowed. So you're not locked into one, you can use both now, and it's wonderful. And then that goes into her passive. So when you kill enemies that are slowed, there's a chance that they're going to drop a health orb, and if they're sped up, there's a chance that they're going to drop an energy orb, which is why I really, really like having the Violet Equilibrium shard here for that effect, because it just makes the energy economy just really nice. But that's about it for the shards and then her abilities, so let's get into the new player build here. So Starting off here, Dreamer's Bond. This is an junction reward that you get pretty early. It has an omnipolarity slot here, so this goes into every aura slot that you have for your Warframe, so really good to have in here if you don't have a matching polarity for Nova. And then going with the junction reward motif here, we've got Streamline and Flow. Flow gives you more energy, Streamline is more ability efficiency, so you just get to cast more abilities all around. Really good. Continuity and Intensify. Continuity is for duration, Intensify is for strength. Nova likes both of these, so having both is great. And then for redirection here, this is the survivability with either fast deflection or with vigilante vigor here. I'm not sure which one you may have at this point when you first get Nova, but you can use either or of these. Or I mean, well, if you have both, you feel free to use both. But I'm showcasing both here in case if you have one and not the other, you can know to just, use whatever you have and you should be just fine. But that covers the newer player part of this, so let's get into the Nuke build that I mentioned earlier. So going over the mod choices here, we have Growing Power for extra ability strength, Prime Sure-Footed so we're not knocked down, Augur Reach, and then Archon Stretch. Stretch does not have to be the Archon variant, but because of the companion, the Archon effect can proc, so I'm running it because I have the capacity. If you wanted to save some Forma, you do not have to run this, because if you run the regular version of Stretch here, you don't have to use this Umbral Forma here like I did, so that's some way that you can save on this build a little bit. Prime Flow here to just have a lot of energy to go ahead and cast our abilities. Prime Continuity for more duration. Intensify and our Transient Fortitude, and then Umbral Intensify, got those backwards, for more ability strength. And then Adaptation and Prime Redirection for the overall survivability to pair with the Archon Aegis for the shield tanking part of this to make sure that we can tank a lot of damage. And then routing out the Arcanes here, we have Molt Augmented for more ability strength. So with Molt Augmented and then Growing Power, we're going to be a little north of like 280-ish power strength, which is pretty good. And then for the nuking build, what I have found to really like with this is running Terrify. Because if you notice there, the radius of Terrify is 26.25 meters. And for Antimatter Drop, the radius is, hey, it's the same. It's about 26 meters. Well, it's 26.5. It's the same. I'm just going to round down. But yeah, the range on both of these is the same. So whatever you Terrify and fully armor strip, you're probably going to hit with Antimatter Drop. And then because you're, well, Nova, everything's just slowed down naturally anyways because of your Molecular Prime. So you don't need the augment from Terrify. You just get to use Molecular Prime, slow everything. With Terrify, they're scared, they're armor stripped. With Molecular Prime, they're slowed and they take more damage, and then you nuke them. So, yeah, it works pretty well. So I'm going to be showing off the build for this. I'm going to be using the Tigress here to go ahead and charge it up. This is what has charged it the fastest for me. You don't have to use the Tigress or anything. I just feel like being nostalgic and using an old weapon. Oh, to go over the companion here just really quick, I'm going to be the Panzervulpaphyla here to apply some Viral with the quills. Standard build here for the Panzer. I haven't really changed anything since the last time, just showing this off for newer viewers. And then the claws here. The Shocking Claws is what is giving us that ability to proc Archon Stretch, because this counts as an ability. So that then gives us that extra energy effect. And then Bite is here for the, what is it, Tenacious Bond? Yeah, Tenacious Bond. So that's why that's there. Everything else is kind of up to you, but these are like the main ones to kind of have on the claws. And let's showcase just nuking everything. This is going to take like, I don't know, 5 seconds, and then I'll get into the second build. So this. little bit of slow, a little bit of terrify, a little bit of orb, a little bit of gone. And yeah, they're gone. That is generally how that works. So yeah, pretty good, I dare say. So the other build that I have here is just a general kind of like all-purpose, just kind of tanking build if you didn't want to maybe nuke everything. The tanking build I have is built fairly the same. There's some minor changes here. So instead of the growing power, I have corrosive projection here so that they just have less armor so that you can deal more damage. And then I've opted for the molecular prime augment. So what this will do is when your no star hits primed enemies, so primed is the status that they have when molecular prime hits them, that spreads that effect, and then you also get your null stars back. So you basically don't have to like recast your null star. It's just a quality of life augment. This is not needed necessarily at all. And then I opted in for the new arcane concentration here for even more ability duration. These are probably the biggest changes to the build. And then this just makes you really tanky because I've opted in for Eclipse to give me a bunch of damage reduction. So this works very, very well. If you're having issues with like survivability on Nova, maybe that's something that you're maybe struggling with, you can maybe drop the augment and then you can go ahead and then run something like health conversion for more armor. You can keep the range if you wanted to. Maybe you want more ability duration. You could run narrow-minded here, and then you can run the augment in this slot because I've got the capacity. I can just mismatch them if you think you want more duration. Because with the range, the null star won't go out and sink as many targets, so you'll keep your 90% DR on you more. And then because of her passive, if you wanted to also include in, like if you wanted to get rid of prime flow here, I don't have the capacity for it, but you can slot in health conversion here over prime flow if you wanted to just make her really, really tanky. Just some different things that you can do with this particular build. These three mods right here, and then this arcane, well, and the aura, I guess, too. These are all customizable. You can change these to be whatever you really want. The build she's still gonna tank things. She doesn't care too much about toxic procs because of all the DR she has. She can just kind of tank a handful, and she's fine. So this one I'm going to show off as well. I'm just gonna run it like this. It doesn't really matter. For this one, I'm going to be using the Latum because, well, she can't quite nuke with this one. It's not dedicated for it. So I'm going to be showing off my Latum build here just to show what this is, to show what I'm using. Kind of a standard just Latum build here, not shattering expectations or anything. I think just a standard Latum build, something we've been using for several years. Latum's a very, very strong secondary. Oh. And actually, for the companion, I meant to change this over. To help with this, I do like using Worm. And then I like using this setup with Worm, just a little duplex bond, creating more health orbs, things like that. The extra health orbs can also help you as well if you choose to run the health conversion side of this, because your companion will also be generating those. And then I like having the Verglock here for the extra, if you're running like primary weapons, the Vigilante set helps to increase the crit rate of those. And then this is the way that I'm choosing to apply viral to things, just casting my abilities, making a bunch of clones of Worm here to just go ahead and spread that viral effect. All right, that's done. Same kind of test. Whoop, wrong gun. And I've got this, and they're about to go away. Yep, just the Latum doing Latum things. Yep. And then you'll notice that when we, yeah, Eclipse has more than 80 seconds on it. Let me get rid of that. And then my particles here there's almost 40 of them because of all the duration that I have thanks to adding in narrow-minded and then with the Archon concentration here. So if you wanted to go something like this and just go full into duration, you can do this, and as you've seen, this is more than successful. I like personally just kind of doing this and then just having things always primed and just kind of having it just be kind of comfy. This is like my little comfy build that I use, and then this is the build that I use when I just want to cause mass genocide. So these are the builds. This is the video. Not going to do like a run or anything, because I think we all know Nova just would clear a lot of things. I just was in the simulacrum to show off the build, show how to do things, and then just show off some different things that you can do. So I hope you liked the video. Thank you for watching, and take care. Thanks. Bye.